Noe, and that your dad, who was absolutely one of the greatest musicians, John Berkman, and composer and writer, was also, we were blessed with his presence here playing for many years. So welcome. We're so happy you're with us. And I am Reverend Pam Geagan, and
I'm Lissa Coffey.
yay! And this is East Meets West, and I always love being with you when you're here. So it is about being divine, and we're talking about East and West, and maybe mainly East right now today. But I'm going to start with a quote from Antoine St. Martin. You are one thing only. You are a divine being, an all-powerful creator. You are a deity in street clothes, and within you dwells the infinite wisdom of the ages and the sacred creative force of all that is and all that ever will be. And as Rumi said, he said, stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. What you seek is already seeking you. And in the West, my interpretation is, and I grew up this way too, we read, we study, and we incorporate all this information and trying to learn something, and we forget who we really are, that there's the divine within us and our divinity calling to us. And so we reach along all these, we get to a certain point, and now we realize what really is calling to us may be something entirely different. I'm not saying throw out all your studies, throw out all your university things that you embraced and embodied. It's always there. It is that divine within us that keeps it like the computer. But when you download and go empty, that is when you connect with something deeper. So we teach that Eastern spirituality and traditions actually already, all of that is within us. And I turn this over to you, Lissa.
It's amazing because the fact that we are indeed divine is like this big secret, and are we in on the secret? And sometimes I don't think we are, because we may have heard it, but we don't believe it. And there's a story about how when God created the earth, he created everything just so beautifully and so perfectly and so divine. And then he says, okay, so what am I going to do about this knowledge? Where am I going to put this knowledge that you are divine? It's a secret. I want people to find it and discover it for themselves. Should I place it at the deepest bottom of the ocean? And the angel said, no, they'll look there. Humans are very curious. They'll look at the deepest oceans. Well, should I place it high in the sky amongst the stars? No, they'll figure out a way to get there. Then where should I hide it? And the angel said, well, you should hide it in the last place they'd ever look. Hide it deep within themselves. That is it takes us a while, like they say outer space is the last frontier. No, I think inner space is the last frontier. That's where we all need to go, and it takes us a while to get to that age and that spiritual maturity to know that we need to sit still and be quiet and know who we are essentially. And it's interesting that you say, the topic is be divine. It's not act divine or, convince yourself you're divine. It's just be. And that should be the easiest thing for us to do, right? But it's not. But the Beatles had that song, Let It Be, right? And I think that's what they were trying to get at, is just when we relax into it and we stop the debate in our mind and we go into silence, we take that time in meditation to just be still, be at peace. And we experience a little bit of it, we experience a little bit of that bliss and existence, and then we get a taste for it, and then we want to experience it more. And then the more we do it, the more we bring it into our waking life, the more we can assimilate it into what we do. So the goal is to do what you are, right? Bring who you are to what you do.
And, there's a new model for leadership, one that I certainly didn't grow up with, and I assume most people in this room didn't grow up with. And the leadership role before was people you would go into wherever you were, a meeting, a church, wherever it was, and you assumed that the person that was in charge was now going to tell you what you should be doing in your life and in the corporation. And now there is that shifting to that Eastern thinking that is, I think the I Ching says, give God your empty rice bowl. Just be open and receptive. And so now the leadership is now looking, if they walk in with the hidden namaste within them, and you can call it whatever you want. You can call it, I recognize the brilliance in you, I recognize the divine within you, whatever is it you want to call it. When the leader of anything does that, recognizes already that there is a divinity and there is something so much greater happening than I could ever imagine, because I can't tell you what your creativity is, and you can't tell me what my creativity is. But when you go into that allowing and listening and recognizing the brilliance of each and every one of us, and then go into not only not naming them, but open and receptive to recognizing it and allowing them to recognize it, that is when you create that powerful community and that powerful mind. And so that comes to everything. So when now the leaders recognize that, you're just there to listen and then incorporate their greatest strengths that none will match in a room. None of them will match. Maybe you'll come to the same conclusion, but none will match. And I always say, has anybody ever gone to a therapist?
Of course. Anybody not?
Anybody not gone to a therapist, or at least a friend here? And so you go to the therapist, and what do? You sit there and you just spill your guts. And you tell them everything, because their job is to keep all of what's happening with you secret and to affirm and help you. And you walk out and you say, before you walk out, you say, oh my God, this is the greatest information. I just am so happy, you have helped me so much. But in reality, the therapist has said so little. All they did was leave the space for you to be unconditionally who you are, supported and loved, and feel safe in those moments.
Yeah.
And so it's a whole shift in thinking these days.
Right, and I think a lot of that has to do with who we think we are is who we identify with. So, here we are today in this certain space and time, and I'm dressed a certain way, and my hair is a certain way, but, this is really interesting. I got the best Christmas gift this year from Freddie, believe it or not.
Oh, Freddie's her oldest son.
He's 35.
He's a wild card.
He's a wild card. I love him. He's so creative. But I spent some time with him last month, and he said, Mom, do you still have those old videos of when we were kids? I said, yeah, we had them on VHS, and I switched it to DVD, and now they're just sitting there because nobody has DVD players anymore. And he said, why don't you send them to me? I'll see what I can do about it. So he took all those DVDs and put them on a YouTube channel for our family. So now, it was brilliant that he did this, and I don't know how he did it because it's way too technically complicated for me to figure out, but what a great gift, not just for me, but for the whole family, right? And so I'm looking back at these videos from the 80s and 90s, okay, and I'm seeing how much has changed. Here's this little Freddie and this little Brian, and do I recognize them? They certainly don't look like they do today. They're not wearing the same clothes. They don't have the same hair. They don't have the same minds. Everything changes. Our body changes. Our mind changes. Our intellect changes. But what is it about them that I recognize that's Freddie, that's Brian. It's the divinity within them. It's that light that shines, that I would know them anywhere. I would know Pam anywhere. I met Pam like 30 years ago, probably, okay?
Yep. With babies.
Yeah, with babies. We were both young moms and everything, right?
You were young. I was not so young.
But, I mean, look at how much we've changed.
Considering we're only 35 now. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I mean, how much we've changed and everything. But this is that same beautiful Pam, with everything she's been through and everything her kids. And it was like Mom Pam. Now she's Grandma Pam. It's like, but she's still Pam. And that I that she says I am, and that I that I say I am, is the same divine light, and that's what doesn't change. Doesn't matter how old we are, doesn't matter how much we've been through, doesn't matter how much we try to be something we're not, right? We can't, we can put on different clothes, we can put on different hats, but those are just roles we play, like actors on a stage. I'm a mom one day, I'm a wife one day, I'm a writer one day, I'm here at the church as a member one day. All those things change, but that divine within, that is eternal. And what does it even mean to be eternal? Eternal doesn't mean forever and ever and ever and ever, because when you say forever, it implies that there's time. In our human constructs, we think of time. Forever is a long time. It's not. It's the continual now. It's the non-changing. It's the place where there's no time, there's no space. It's just existence, consciousness, bliss.
And I embrace that. And by the way, I just had this aha. When I am with you, I don't know, I feel like a teenager. We go back to that time almost. We do woo-woo things, and we laugh and do a lot of things like that, which is so interesting. And I've always learned a lot from you. And what I've learned a lot from is your humility. Is that a good word for this? Who you are is so magnificent. And yet you're just Lissa, as you said. It is so amazing to me. Yeah.
Well, honestly, that feels so good for me to hear, because I think like a lot of us growing up, I had those insecurities. I had a low self-esteem. I was, awkward growing up. Never had a boyfriend. I had acne. I had braces. I had big, thick glasses. I was like, ugh, I just felt like, and my sister was so beautiful and always had boyfriends, and I was just, I didn't feel good about myself. I had to learn through growing up and through turning to spirituality, what was important in life and what made a person, who they are, how we all have such gifts, and it doesn't matter what we look like or who we know, or, it's all about our relationship with the divine. That's the most important thing.
Growing up in Hollywood, it was all about who you knew. Working in the industry was all about how you knew and how you got in there, too. But no, I agree that anything that's ever happened to either one of us that was good or whatever it was came from us. I'm going to shift here just for a second. Hemingway said, and it's about being in touch with the divinity. He said the story, and I'm doing this not only for myself, but for Plumman, too, who's a writer. He said, the story is useless. The story, what did he say? He did not say. Hemingway would say, unless the story is writing itself, he would put the pencil down. He would not go any further. He would write every day, but only as long as the writing was freely given to him, through him, as him. And so when the famous 19th century, I think his name's I'm not sure how to say it exactly, Rilke, I think he's a wonderful poet. What is it? Okay. When you ask, he said, how do you become a poet? He said, you don't become a poet. The calling is within you, and it is undeniable. And so again, you are called to something greater, despite what your parents told you should or should not be, or you could or could not be, or how you would, reach success in one way or another. It is already within you. And then Rumi said, wherever you are and whatever you do, be in love. And I agree with that. That divine spark. Always, my happiest moments have nothing to do with the material world. My happiest moments is when I am in there's that oneness and that divinity within me that just rises above and says yes. And just one more quote. Jesus said, as little children, which means would be like little children, which means that they have the innocent beginner's mind. Many adults walk into a situation thinking we have all the answers, which makes them unteachable. The mind that truly knows is the mind that is receptive to the higher vibrations and also is the empty mind. The empty mind doesn't mean you forget everything. The empty mind means that you have space to recognize with that connection in those moments who you are, and that's why I love that video. But you are that divinity throughout eternity. Yeah.
And today actually is a very special day in Vedanta because it is Holy Mother's birthday. So Holy Mother is Sri Sharada Devi, and I wear her around my neck all the time because she's the person I look up to the most, the person I want to be like, the person who set an example of how to be in this world but not of it, like Jesus always said, how to live a life filled with chaos and confusion like we all do, and yet remain holy and still and peaceful and be able to benefit people, by just your mere presence. But people would say to her, how do you do it? How, she had these crazy relatives and stuff. She had people gave her so much trouble, and she cooked the meals, and she did all this stuff like you're supposed to do, and she was a holy person. And she said the one piece of advice she always gave people when they asked is she said, don't find fault in others. Just accept people as they are, who they are, because they're all divine. They're all my children. And, I think if we're trying to aspire to not only be divine, because we know we're divine, but to feel divine and to embody that divinity, that's the best thing we can do, is just not find fault in others.
It's so interesting because to connect, one of the ways you can do anytime you're going into a meeting or a group or anything else is already determine that who they are is the namaste. And the gentle, you don't have to say it out loud. You don't have to come in and go, namaste, and people say, geez, what are you doing here? So anyway, but it is recognizing the divinity in all of them and the wisdom in all of them. And if you just do that silent, when you go into any meeting, any group, you will just be amazed at how that will unfold in no matter how many people are there or how many people aren't there, and how the rhythm and the flow of everything will just go so perfectly.
Yeah, because there are no coincidences in life. Everything is a divine appointment. So anyone we meet, there is purpose behind it, and when we recognize that divinity in that person, even if that person is angry and yelling at us and furious, if we just, let our light shine and, stay in the moment, let them have their say, whatever needs to be done, don't find fault in them, everything changes, right? So this is not your life forever being yelled at by this person. Just, let it be. Then we can all learn and grow from this situation. Everything, everyone, every experience is divine. It's it's all meant to support us in our spiritual growth.
And I just want to share just one small Christmas story, and I'll try to make it as little as possible. I live in a block that's very, very small. And those who have visited me, at the end of a dirt road, and so the neighbors on the end of the dirt road consist of 1, 2, 3, 4, mainly the 4 of us, right? And so every Christmas we exchange gifts, and we meet one another. And then the Robins, who live on the one side, and then my daughter now lives on the other side of me. This is amazing to me. I've known them now since Spencer was born, so 33 years. 33 years, and first of all, I am good friends with them. But Winnie, and they walk their dogs around my niece's house, which is around the corner too, which is great. And Winnie and Robin's done, I always say my house is the house that Robin built. He's a contractor. And also he's helped Winnie a lot. Yesterday I walk into my niece's house, and I had my agenda on board. And my agenda was that Ralph Brennan gave Winnie the most incredible gift. It's her mother's birthday, Christmas Day, and she was a Marilyn Monroe fan, and she looked like Marilyn Monroe. She really did. My sister was just adorable. And when also I can't explain it, but I wanted her to open this doll because he gave her a Marilyn Monroe doll from the 7-Year Itch where her dress is blown up. And I was so excited about this. So I get there, and I'm there like 2 minutes, and everybody's running around like crazy. And it's the first time, I'm going to go back, I'm going to digress. The first time the Robins, they're both named Robin, that live next door to me, Winnie always says, come, come, come. They never come. They came yesterday. They're running around like crazy. I'm following Winnie around saying, you got to open this present. You got to open this present. Well, all the electricity went out in the ovens and everything else. And nobody could fix it in the house except for Robin. The first time he's ever been there, the first time that all their electricity was blown out, he just quietly went home, and he came back. And just at the end of my prayer, which was power and light, we know that the power and the light and the divinity was in with us, and it's flowing in and through and as us. And whatever the ending was, and I said, and so it is. And the power came back on, and Robin fixed it. And so this was just amazing. And they all said, Pam, we always want you to say prayers for us now. And I said, honest to God, that was a divine coincidence, and the very first time Robin has ever been with us, too. I just think all the coincidences. Anyway, I'm going to close with your greatest job, as I say, is to suit up, show up, and know that the universe as a self-organizing entity is open to having us express the highest and best we are in our own unique way. And again, it's my place to hold that space for you, not to do an agenda for you, which I'm very good at. For some of us who know me well, it's like, well, could you do this, and do it my way, too? Anyway, but without manipulation, knowing it is the highest and best for all. And there is that candle of reality that you are, once it is kindled and it is with you, I know there's a void in our soul from time to time. Don't you feel it sometimes, that void? When that candle is lit within you, you are filled with greatness. So I say, this is my closing line, set your life on fire and seek those around you who fan those flames.
Beautiful. And I'm going to stick with that light analogy. And I don't know if you guys have heard that song, This Little Light of Mine, I'm gonna let it shine. So let's try for this 2022 to let our light shine, to remember that divinity within, and to shine through all the confusion and chaos and stuff that's going on everywhere. But just remember those, like this, as an affirmation: shine through, be you, be divine.
Oh, thank you, Lissa. Yay! And by the way, and in closing, my new mantra is arise anew in 2022. And how you do that is by being empty and starting with letting go of all the clutter that clutters our mind that you just said. And I love you. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And where's our Danny? Danny, our Dan. See, I'm so territorial. So happy you're here, honey.
Hello again. So I took my kora. By the way, this instrument is called the kora. It's from West Africa, so it's not exactly far east, but it's more east. And the kora, you all know what scales are in music? You know piano, you know your scales. Well, in Western music, we have either seven notes in a scale, or we have 12, right? So in the East, in the Chinese and Japanese traditions, they use a 5-note scale or a pentatonic scale. So I took my kora to the back and I tuned it to a pentatonic scale. So one way that the music sort of mirrors spirituality is that you can sort of eliminate excess and simplify things. And when you do that in music, it actually is really healing to the ears and to the mind. So I'm going to now improvise in a pentatonic scale, or a 5-note scale.
let us read our offertory together, and then I'm going to invite Reverend Kelly Brzezinski up to do our closing prayer. Okay. Yes, and then he's going to do our closing prayer. Divine together, divine love blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is, and that's the way it is. And as soon as Kelly's prayer is done, I ask you to pass the baskets while Danny plays under. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Merry Christmas, honey.
Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to everybody. So as we bring this service today to a conclusion, I just turn again within to that place of, as Reverend Pam mentioned, that place of childlike wonder and excitement. And I just conduct my day and the rest of this year and next year in that place of wonder, that place where in my mind I see that little child out exploring the world and seeing what is new and knowing in true Christmas spirit that anything is possible. As I knew as a child when Santa showed up for me carrying his bag of gifts, knowing I hadn't been particularly good that year, I knew that everything was truly possible. And so that is the perspective that I choose to stand in, the perspective that I choose to adopt and to live from, is just that space of potential, knowing that absolutely anything is possible for me, for each of us, that regardless of where I am, where I've been, there is no limit to where I can go, to where each of us can go. And so for that and everything that was shared in this service and that has been expressed throughout this year at Center for Spiritual Living, Pleasant Valley, I am grateful. And I just make a special note of gratitude in my mind for this center, for Reverend Pam, for everyone that helps put on this wonderful spiritual event. So with that, I simply turn my word over to law, knowing that it is an already established fact that anything is truly possible. And I simply affirm that by saying, and so it is.
And as the baskets are passed, Danny, thank you. I did it already. Would you like it again? Would you give double if I did it again? And in closing, I just want to thank, as Kelly did so eloquently, but especially Marcia BB Sound, yay! Danny Berkman, all the way from East Bay. Or is it West Bay? I don't know. West Bay. And I'm so grateful our other Berkeleyite is here too. And of course our Rev Lynn, Buzz Noe, Pamela Bailey, our lead practitioner, and our Sandy and our Nikki, and all those who give so much to this center to make it a light in our community. And now I invite right. Anybody who wants to come up with us and sing the peace song, please come up.